Friends, hey, how are you? I am excited, and I think everyone should be excited what's going on here with Big Bear. So, we're going to dig right into it. I don't want to waste your time. Obviously, just mentioning Palantir here for a split second. Palantir is holding what it looks like to be possibly, it could bleed off a little more from this point. It's still very high, obviously. These are very new numbers for us, but, I expect this could be somewhere in the new low of Palantir. Now, obviously, the market is teeter-tottering right now, trying to figure out what it's doing, but, we could be in potentially having, another little run coming up here. The market's right in the situation where it's gonna go up or down. Obviously, we've had the bond market situation come out yesterday, yields going higher, all that kind of stuff. But I'm optimistic that we are going to keep a steady pace in the market at least at this point. So obviously, we're not out of tariff, territory. That stuff's going to come back up here soon. And but Palantir is obviously holding this new position, this new ground. So from here, it could easily leapfrog into back into 130 and find 140 here sooner than we think. Obviously, somewhere in the summer we will find 140 with Palantir. I fully believe that. So let's get right into Big Bear. Okay, so I think there's something that deserves attention here. So if you look at this volume / the highs, lows, close, open here with Big Bear, that you'll notice a trend has started, and I think we need to start looking at Big Bear as the situation as it is that it's trying to get back into a $4 to $5 position. Now, obviously, we're touching $4. We've hit $4 here in the past 2 weeks twice. Okay. Not even 2 weeks. Essentially, we hit it on the 14th and we hit it at, 2 weeks. We hit it on the 14th and we hit it here on today. We hit it today. Now, being in this $4 range, we hit it yesterday and we hit it today again. So being in this range right now with Big Bear, it's very telling that Big Bear is looking for higher numbers. Now, obviously, we still have this whole news going on with the lawsuit situation. It's not even worth mentioning at this point. It's dead and gone, old news. It'll be out of here in 2 weeks, okay? It'll be gone, dust in the wind. So with that situation, Big Bear is starting to rev up here. And then we have the whole golden dome situation that Trump is talking about. I mean, so much money wrapped up in that, so many tentacles that will be happening from that situation. Now Canada today came out and said, hey, we want in on this. We're talking with the United States. So it's a thing that's blowing up. It's turning into a massive deal. It's probably going to get bigger. There's going to be a lot of money, a lot of companies, and like I said, a lot of tentacles going off in each direction. So with that, the optimism with that, the suspicion, the breadcrumbs that we could be picking up here is that Big Bear, who is already working defense deals for the, American department here, they could get more. They could get bigger ones. Who knows? They could be a part of what's going on with this deal. Obviously, they've got a certain software that our government likes, and I do think they could get even a small chunk of the deal here. I mean, even if Big Bear, was to receive a $500 million or $1 billion contract, spread out at a minimum of less than 3 years, maybe 2.5 years, with that kind of money, it would change everything with Big Bear here. It would change everything with Big Bear. So I'm hopeful that something here may break here. That's the whisper. That's the gossip. That's what's going on right now. That's what we want. So with that, moving into this chart here. So I went back here and I looked at, when we had this last pump here, this $10 position pump here with Big Bear back, back in February, this was a long time in the making. So when I started to buy Big Bear around September, October of last year, back when Big Bear was at, I think it was like a $2, barely $2.50. It was something low, but I bought Big Bear because they had just received one of that first big, nice, chunky defense contract that was like under $200 million spread out over, 3.5 years. So I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. What have I got to lose with the company that just received this pretty ginormous deal with the American, the Department of Defense? I took a chance, and the chance worked out. And then I started yapping my mouth about it on YouTube here, and with my channel, along with other stocks I talk about. And we've seen Big Bear steadily climb here, and from that first deal, Big Bear has found other defense contracts. So, but this was a little bit of a short span, but a long span too, of this $10 run that was coming, and it took a while to get in the making here, what I'm essentially saying. So you look back just from October, November, and then really right in like the end of November, December, then you're going into January. You've got 4 months in there before we really got a big jump start push here into this $10 situation that happened in February. So December, January, February, right there, and then we're playing around this $3 position, and then we sell off, and then boom, we just strike gold here into that $10 position. So if you look at where we're at right now, we've got this one hump, two hump, looking at the red here. We're on this second hump here. I think we're building a third hump here, and that third hump is somewhere in the 440, 460 range here, where Big Bear's trying to get to. So I do wonder if it's as simple as Big Bear will do better and run harder once this lawsuit deal situation wraps up. And it's so ridiculous even to kind of like think about this situation as is right now, because I think investors have caught on long ago about what's going on with this lawsuit situation, with the financials from 2022, 2023, a little bit in 2024, that these law firms are saying like, hey, if you were wronged by Big Bear, lied to, contact us, we'll help you push a lawsuit, essentially what they're saying. But I think investors are like, there's only so many people that could prove at that point and have cause to push that lawsuit, and obviously it's going to cost them too. So I think it's pretty much wrapping up here. It's about to be done. Now with that too, this is a situation, what we saw too, looking at going back to the blue here back before February, right around that 2 and that 3, Big Bear was getting a lot more deals. We were like 3-4 deals deep at that point, new defense contract deals at that moment. And then right when number 3 was sitting here, that blue 3 here, that's right around the end of January, we received that $13.5 million deal that came in from a defense contract. And then, we had volume, the market was running high. Boom, we had this organic, well, I don't want to say organic, but we had this manipulated run with an organic push that went into a manipulated run from investors with Big Bear. So, Big Bear went from 3 to 4 to 6 to 8, and then, oh my God, we bled over 10, and then, everyone took massive earnings. Some people probably hit the biggest streak of their life, and still, congratulations, what a time, what a party. But I do think stocks are somewhat creatures of habit, and they can repeat the process over, especially if they have, the volume, the zeitgeist, the movement attached to that 100%. And I do think Big Bear is 100% in that conversation right now, where Big Bear has the attention of investors. Obviously, there's people that are going to come in here and say like, well, you're not talking about the bad stuff with Big Bear. Friends, I've talked about the bad stuff. I've been talking about the bad stuff before, I was really hinting on the good stuff. Big Bear has debt, and Big Bear needs more money. They need deals. This lawsuit situation obviously is it's the poo stain. It's the negative situation right now, but it's wrapping up as far as we can see with what's the evidence is given to us. So with that, it's very early in the year as well. So if Big Bear can find, I think it's really going to be a situation of if they can wrap up at least one more deal that's going to be at least $20 million to $30 million, that really is going to put them over this threshold of like, okay, at least by Q3 of this year, we're definitely going to be in beating expectation. We're going to be in a situation of, the company is making profit. They're profitable again to a point. Obviously, they need to get debt paid off. They need to, focus on bigger deals and acquiring a lot more at that point too. So I think what you're watching, it may be a lot more simple than what people are making it out to be. It's a situation of you're watching a company pretty much change their fundamentals. They've just changed the CEO. They are obviously Kevin. He's been with the company, but now he is he's at the helm here. He's the CEO. And two, you're watching them get into this rotation of they're acquiring new positions, new deals. And this is the conversation, and I hate to sound like a broken record here, but it's the truth that Palantir was in a situation like this just a handful of years ago, less than, really 3 years ago. Palantir was, at a $6-7 position. And then, Palantir started to get these defense contracts, and they kept getting them. They kept getting more. Then they started getting other deals. And I think that's kind of the place that we're heading into right now with Big Bear. Big Bear has achieved these defense contracts. Okay, good, great. Now it's a situation as, is Big Bear's name getting out there more where they're going to start getting other deals from random companies where they're contacted by, X this, X that for X amount of money over X amount of years. I think those days are nearer than we think right now with Big Bear. So that's really an exciting situation right there, because obviously the defense contracts, they're good. But once Big Bear is able to start spanning out into, a bigger, broader span of business, that's really exciting too. And that's very telling that we are headed for, a lot more gold nuggets here for Big Bear in the future. So friends, I don't know that I would give up on Big Bear at this point. Obviously do what you want to do, but Big Bear is leaving investors plenty of wiggle room right now to buy low, sell high. If you're trading this thing weekly, you're making a killing right now. We're doing good here. We're doing real good. We're frying the bacon up here, and it's not stopping. You're able to buy Big Bear somewhere in the week when it's down, and then you're able to make a 10 to 20% profit on top of what you put in. You may maybe in a 3 to 4 day span here, if you're really waiting for a nice chunky paycheck from Monday through Friday. So Big Bear is allowing investors to keep it pushing. And I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take investors pushing it right now 100%. So, just to talk about the revenue one more time, is that, Big Bear, it's released, its last revenue, it did not hit expectation, but it was so close. But it's the fact that it was so close that it was good, and it was telling, because it was so much better than what Q1 of 2024 was. Q1 of 2025 here, just a few weeks ago that we had come out, almost hit expectation. That is very telling that we're going to have a really good year, okay? We're having a better year. This could potentially be the biggest and best year that Big Bear has ever had. So I'm very in the wheelhouse that Big Bear is going to continue to do well here. Like I said, it's very early in the year, so I do think that we could see another contract show its face here 100%. And listen, it's almost in a situation of, if we can just, like I said, if we can get 20-30 million of at least one more contract, at that point it's just going to be like, extra icing on top of the cake, because essentially what we're waiting for right now, what we want Big Bear to at least be, somewhere in the 180, well, really 170, 180 million, 170, 180 million in revenue for the whole year. But if they can get to 200 million, man, that's going to be big. That's going to be different. That's going to be very eye-opening, and that's going to really set Big Bear up for going into 2026 here. This whole defense contract stuff that, the White House is putting out, that Trump is pushing, this Golden Dome, this thing is going to be going for a long time. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a long time to build, and I would be more than willing to bet that we know Palantir more than likely is going to be a part of it. That's pretty much a drop in the bucket. But, Big Bear already having defense contracts with our government, not one, not two, not three, multiple ones. They just got another one, not even a month ago. they're probably going to be a part of the process somewhere. So there will be more money filtering in for them somewhere here in the future, I suspect, with a new deal. Now, I don't know how they'll publicly announce that. I don't know if they'll say like, hey, Big Bear is helping with the just for defense situations. I don't know how that would work, but anyway, if they just come out and said, hey, they may not even name it. They may just, say like, it may just be a little, high line is, Big Bear receives another defense contract with the United States government, and, it may not say anything more than that. So, yeah, friends, I think Big Bear's in a good, healthy position here. Listen, we haven't had a really good week in the market.